Hello, everyone, and welcome to EVTN News, your source for Catholic news. And a little late, I knew I was forgetting something, and it definitely don't want to forget about EVTN News. So, everyone is officially on Francis Watch, and I don't think I'll comment on that a whole lot, just at the end a little bit. But let's get right into some of the news this past week. And there's always the Francis Watch news overshadows pretty much everything. But don't let the other stuff get lost in the shuffle. Kind of like, again, was it last week maybe that I talked about the new Archbishop of Detroit? That news was very much overshadowed. Pretty much everyone missed it. Which I think is huge news. You're talking about corrupt bishops, and this guy was bishop. He was the head of some really creepy priest organization that was shut down. So don't miss out on the news. Follow EVTN, and you'll catch some things that you might not necessarily see on some of the other, even some of the the mainstreams, or even like the fringe news sites from uh, of the Catholics. Okay, so the USCCB sued the Trump administration over what the bishops say is an unlawful suspension of funding for refugee programs in the United States. In their lawsuit filed on Tuesday in the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C., the USCCB notes that it has worked with the U.S. Department of the State's Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration for nearly half a century in order to assist with refugee resettlement in the United States. So that's their claim, is that, oh, we've worked with this for half a century, so don't cut our funding. The Refugee Bureau, not half a century, nearly half a century, okay, whatever. The Refugee Bureau has committed around $65 million in federal funding to the USCCB and its affiliates for refugee services, the bishops say in their suit. So that's just the USCCB, not even Catholic Charities. Yet on January 24th, the State Department suspended funding without prior notice, with the bishops receiving a cursory 2-page letter informing them of the suspension. The suit says the USCCB has already been forced to initiate layoffs for 50 employees. It faces irreparable damage to its long-standing refugee resettlement programs and its reputation and relationship with its subrecipients and refugee populations it serves. So, yeah, the USCCB, I knew it was coming. I've been saying this for years. Look at all this government money that's going to the USCCB, and now it's finally coming to, now it's finally coming to the surface, and they're losing that money, and now they're showing what is really important to them, and it is their government funding. It's not necessarily their other programs such as pro-life. Um, so yeah, it's sad to see. Okay, and then a federal judge on Thursday denied the USCCB's attempt to force the U.S. government into continuing taxpayer funding for their massive refugee resettlement operations. So there you go. They were pretty much immediately shut down. Now, the money that the USCCB is using for the lawsuit, where is that coming from? Is it coming from private donations? I suspect it is. So they're using your donations to fund their lawsuit so that they could maintain their government funding. So it's kind of sad. Okay, moving on a little bit to a little different topic. J.D. Flynn was scheduled. J.D. Flynn, who runs the blog called The Pillar, which, by the way, it looks like they're starting to gray out some of the articles and make it for subscribers only. So it's turning into a paid subscription. And so J.D. Flynn was scheduled to give 3 talks organized by the Lumen Christi Institute in Chicago. Yesterday, the Institute Okay, so here's what he said. Yesterday, the Institute informed me that the talks were canceled. It was clear to me that it was not Lumen Christi's decision to cancel them. It apparently turns out I am not welcome to speak in the Archdiocese of Chicago. So, if you know anything about J.D. Flynn, you'll know that his blog released some information about the hookup app Grinder, um, and it was used in rectories in the Archdiocese of Newark in particular. But he also outed Monsignor Grinder, who is Monsignor Burrill, who is the secretary for the USCCB, and now he is in Father Altman's diocese as a parish priest. So yeah, so that's what happens in the Francis Church. You know, if you are caught, meeting up with men, then you just issue an apology, and then you're just assigned back into a parish priest. You're just assigned to a parish to cover a parish. So yeah, pretty pathetic, honestly. He said, I reached out to the Archbishop's office of the Archdiocese of Chicago yesterday to better understand the decision, but I have not heard back. No surprise, because Supich is very good friends with Tobin, and a lot of Tobin's priests were, meeting up with men, as J.D. Flynn posted the information. And then Ed, J.D. Flynn's, co-worker at the Pillar, found out, well, whenever J.D. wrote this article last week, he said Ed found out that a talk he was scheduled to give in the tonight, tonight. So that night, he found out in the morning the talk he was scheduled to give that night in the Archdiocese of Washington had been canceled, just after the Pillar reported on a Vos Estis Lux Mundi investigation in the Archdiocese. So Gregory canceled, or no, it wouldn't have been Gregory. It would have been McElroy. McElroy canceled the talk, and McElroy's good friends with Tobin as well, because they're all McCarrick Cardinals. Gregory is in that group, although he's more of the Bernardine network, but it all blends together. All the heterodox, what would you say, rainbow? Well, they're all Cardinals now. Rainbow Cardinals, yeah, they all kind of band together. No surprise. So then, an interview the Pillar had scheduled with a high-ranking churchman was abruptly canceled too. Whoever that was, or whatever that means. So I'm gonna read the rest of what he said, and then I'll say my reaction. But this would have been a chance to really see what is going on in the church, and kind of, what would you call, like a red pill moment? But it's not for him, because here's what he says. In short, my talks got canceled this week, and so did Ed's. Here's my concern. We're not polemical or incendiary. We make it a point to avoid sensation. We're equal opportunity reporters. We cover everybody with the same rigor and seriousness. We're not culture warriors or showmen. We're not twirling our pencils on a whirlwind on conspiracy-laden YouTube videos. We consistently urge obedience to ecclesiastical authority, even as we urge better governance where it's needed. We try to be cool and normal, is what I'm trying to say. The problem so far as I can tell is that we do the reporting seriously. So, I mean, they are victims of cancellation, but I think, they're trying to position themselves as we're really, really moderate, and we're really super obedient. And this is what obedience gets you. It gets you canceled. So, you don't really see a whole lot of sympathy from me. Welcome to the club. You're not gonna, if you believe in the Catholic faith and you try to, move forward with tradition and everything, you're not going to be welcomed in the Francis Church. That's just how it is. That's what we've been dealing with for, well, 12 years. So, um, I don't know why he's acting like he's surprised. You're not. And it could push you to be more determined, but no, he's going to just continue to do what he does, and we try to get some more donations from people, and um, I don't know. I don't know. But they didn't learn anything. So maybe when they're canceled multiple times, they'll learn. But we're not welcome in the Francis Church. It doesn't matter how obedient you are. It doesn't matter if you don't do conspiracy YouTube videos, which, a lot of the news I've been reporting on is not conspiracy. Sorry to break the news. No, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry to break the news. They urge obedience to ecclesiastical authority, and what's that do? Get you canceled. So, there you go. That's what happens. Okay. A report published by First Things this week revealed that Notre Dame University's provost informed faculty 3 days before President Trump was sworn in via email that they are looking to increase the number of women and underrepresented minorities on our faculty. John McGreevy, the provost, also told employees that the move was equally important as the first goal he laid out in the email. So, increasing the number of women and minorities in the faculty was equally important as the first goal he laid out in the email, which was to hire Catholic faculty and other faculty deeply committed to our mission to ensure continuity with our past and our fate as the world's leading global Catholic research university. So basically, DEI is as important as Catholicism, although they contradict. So, uh, according to First Things, Notre Dame founded the Office of Institutional Transformation in 2022 and brought on several DEI staff to promote woke ideology on campus. Salaries for such persons were reportedly north of a total combined for these employees to 6.5 million. So they're blowing 6.5 million on anti-Catholic useless, not really not on anti-Catholic useless, um, basically jobs. A Center for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion was also established in 2023, as if I don't know, but if they're doing Francis-y stuff, that's basically within the doctrines of the new doctrines of Pope Francis. So hopefully, hopefully another pope um, will change things. But so you saw how quickly. So whenever Trump started, you saw how quickly all these organizations were so quick to remove all their diversity programs. And maybe that will be the case with synodality and Latin Mass bans if there's another pope who's less hostile towards the Catholic faith. As you know, we're on Francis Watch. So there was an article in Gloria TV today, and it said there is great concern in the Vatican about documents that Francis may have signed in recent days that have escaped the control of the Secretariat of State. The issue, okay, so let me look into this here. Last Friday, the Vatican published a denial of a news report that Cardinals Parolin and Ghirlanda had met. Is it Ghirlanda had met Francis in the hospital. Ghirlanda is said to have suggested changing the roles of the conclave. The most intense rumor in Rome about Ghirlanda's pressure on the hospitalized Francis is hard to deny. So they're they're almost making decisions while Francis is in the hospital, which is the Francis bot, which is what I said last week. Francis might not even be making any of these decisions, but I see that there is already a bishop somewhere. I don't know if it was Brazil, somewhere in South America, that was supposedly appointed, maybe today. So, um, Parolin and Ghirlanda are making decisions for Francis. Some claim that Ghirlanda even persuaded Francis to sign several decrees on religious congregations, including an important one concerning Opus Dei. We'll find that out pretty soon, whether or not that's the case. There have also been other cardinals who have been quick to send messages and texts to the Pope through their secretaries. The Info Vaticana writes, a nasty surprise cannot be ruled out in the coming days. So, yeah, so I guess pay close attention to what happens, and I'll be watching for sure. But at this point, it's, while we're on Francis watch, there's a lot of conversations happening, and anything that Francis says or does should be questioned, because it might not be something that he's said. Not that he's done a whole lot to advance the Catholic faith, but we know that other people may be making decisions at this point. So, yeah. All right, I missed it, unfortunately. I think you're talking about the news of the Archbishop of Detroit. Maybe I'll try to post a clip of that clip, because it's extremely important, I think. The U.S. Council of Cash Bishops, yeah. Okay. All right. So, okay, I started this a little bit late. I started this live stream a little bit late, but thanks for tuning in. Next week, I may or may not. I don't think Monday's going to be a good day for a live stream, but I might get something in. And I guess it depends on how the news events go down, what we have. But I'll continue to do what I need to do to report this news, especially the stories that you may not have heard about. So that's sort of the purpose of EVTN news. It's not to report all the same news that everyone's reporting, or not to overanalyze this news when you can go somewhere else and watch it for an hour, and watch people talk about one story for an hour. You can come here and I'll give you just small segments of the news, and especially look for maybe the stories that kind of slip between the cracks. So anyway, all right, until next time, thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.